Holy God, we give you thanks this day. We pray that the words of our mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts would be acceptable in your sight, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. So this is the third part in a series, and the series that we're on right now that deals with the kingdom of God. And what I hope to do throughout this series was excite you about the mission of God, and what God is doing in this world, and what God might do in this place and time. This is a story, this gospel story we read this morning is a story that's about the already and not yet. And it's about a vision that's taking place in real time, but it's about a place that is yet to come. This is a story that when I was first reading it, sounded very familiar to me. I don't know if any of you recognize the image that's up on that screen, if you're as big of a nerd as I am. But there's a lot of times where I'll reference all kinds of movie stuff. I love things like Star Wars, I love things like Star Trek, I love things like, what is the one? Drawing a blank now. I love Star Wars, Star Trek, I love Harry Potter, I love Lord of the Rings. And this is a scene from The Hobbit. Anybody seen The Hobbit? You see that movie? Yeah, okay, a couple of you. Okay, this is, wow. All right, not very many of you have seen The Hobbit. That's okay, it wasn't a great movie. But I want to show you this clip real quick. I think we find ourselves and the disciples in a place that's pretty common, and we find Bilbo Baggins in that story in the same place, and that is a place where we are looking for any excuse to get out of what we have, right? When Bilbo, if you don't know the setup for this movie, they're about to go on a big adventure. Gandalf's the tall wizard guy. He shows up to his house, and he says, "You're going to do this. You're going to host all of these. You're going to host all these folks. You're going to host all the dwarves, and you're going to go on this adventure." He wants nothing to do with that at all. And they all show up anyway, and they raid his pantry, and they go through everything. And that last scene, I hope you can hear it, but there's just exasperated from Bilbo as he looks at his now empty pantry. And what I think, the reason I thought about this is because when I read these disciples, what they do is they find all of these crowds. These are folks, the disciples are people who have been working really hard for a long time to maintain what they've got. They've been doing everything that Jesus had asked them up to this point. They've been going all over their world and checking out all these different cities and villages and communities and speaking to people and preaching and healing. And they're just tired. And so Jesus tells them, you know what, and you get to take a break, go across, and I'll meet up with you later, and we'll all take a little retreat together. But by the time that they get across the lake, everybody has already showed up at their doorstep again, and they are tired, and they are worn out, and they're looking for any reason to just be done. And so when Jesus gets there and he sees all the people, the disciples are expecting for there to be a retreat for them, for Jesus to say, no, you all have to go away. We're done for right now. Come back again tomorrow. We need to rest. But that's not what Jesus says. Jesus sees them and he feels sad. He feels like they're sheep without a shepherd, right? And he feels like he has to instruct them and guide them and lead them. Therefore, And so the disciples go along with it. But as the day gets on and their time for retreat gets shorter and shorter and shorter, they look to Jesus and they ask, God, can we be done with this? Teacher, can we be finished? It's getting late, it's getting to my bedtime. I really need to lay down for a little bit. We've been on our feet all day. It's been a long day. We've worked hard. Let's just send them home. They can eat wherever they go. They'll be fine. And what does Jesus say? Jesus looks at his disciples and he says, you feed them. And now the disciples, this is where I imagine they're like Bilbo Baggins, you feed them. No. And now I've worked hard, I've got my stuff together, I did all of the right things to get where I am. I do not need to feed these people. And so they come up with their excuses, right? You really expect us, we only got, 5 loaves and 2 fish. You expect us to go out and buy food for all of these people. That's what you want us to do? You realize that's 8 months worth of pay? They're not getting paid here either, by the way. That's 8 months worth of pay. What if the problem that we see here for the disciples isn't so much that there's so many people that need to be fed and Jesus is demanding that they be fed? What if the problem is with perspective? What if the problem is how we understand what's in front of us and the way we look at it? Here's the thing from this parable that I find so fascinating is even the disciples are doing all the math and they're doing all the things that we know how to do. They're looking at the number of people, they're looking at the amount of food that they have in front of them, they're looking at the amount of money they've got in their bank account, and they're sitting there and going, there is no way this is going to work. There is no way. We don't have enough money, we don't have enough food, we don't have enough resources, we have no way to distribute properly, we have no way to get what the people need to them in a way that's adequate at all. In a different translation, it tells you there's 5,000 men here. Right? There's at least 5,000 people. There's likely more women and children, so you're looking between 10 to 15,000 people at a minimum that they're feeding. I don't know about you, but I would go along with the disciples in that moment. Man. No way. But what if the problem is that we're looking at the problem the wrong way? Especially when God is telling us to do something about it. What really needs to happen is a change in our perspective. A perspective that we currently have is one that sees the world in the way that the world sees it. These obstacles are unbeatable. I can't do these things. There are just going to have to be people that are hungry. There are just going to have to be people that fend for themselves. There are just going to have to be people that die. There are just going to have to be people who face illnesses that are curable. There are just going to have to be people who are bought and sold. There are just going to have to be people who go hungry. There are just going to have to be people, or every children, that won't go with an education. But what if we looked at that from the perspective of the kingdom of God? Because I think that's what Jesus does. When Jesus sees all of these people, he doesn't look out there and see, man, I've only got $5 in my bank account. I've only got 5 loaves and 2 fishes in my hand. Jesus looks at this crowd and he sees the kingdom. Jesus looks at these at least 5,000, maybe 15,000 people, and he says, this is an opportunity for God to speak about what the kingdom is like. And so Jesus takes the meager resources that they have and he blesses them and he breaks them and they distribute them. And lo and behold, by the time that they're done, everyone is fed and there's plenty of leftovers. As I said at the beginning, I've been using this sermon series to talk about mission here at Trenton First and what we do. And I've asked, what's really close to your heart? What breaks your heart in this world? And I want to tell you a little bit about mine. What breaks mine? over the last year or so, I've been listening to the people that we've been in ministry with. Folks who come to Christ Now, which is our overnight shelter here at the church. People that we serve at the soup kitchen, up in Wyandotte. Folks that we work with at the food pantry. And I've been hearing what they're saying, or even people who just come into the office during the week and who have different needs. And what they keep telling me is that there are gaps that exist in their lives. There are assistance programs that are available to them, but there are still gaps. There are still parts of their life that they can't seem to fill, they can't seem to feed, they can't seem to find what they need. And so they come to us. And there exists in our community and communities all around the world this deep need to be fed. But what I love about this kingdom vision that Jesus has, especially as he's the shepherd here, is that what he's doing is twofold in the kingdom of God. We see that Jesus as the shepherd, he teaches and he guides, but he also takes care of your son. Right? Not only are you going to learn to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, but you are going to transform the world. It's going to take care of a spiritual need and a physical need. And both of those things are met in abundance in the kingdom. Early in the 20th century, in the United States, it was Christians Christians and Methodists in particular, who led the movement for social programs. It was Methodists who started programs like food assistance, right? Who advocated for government assistance programs. And the idea behind that was that if somebody should find themselves unable to work, or without a job, or a major illness affects them, that they shouldn't have to starve. Right? They should be able to find food. They should be fed. That was the intention. And what we find a lot is that when people rely on these programs and they do a lot of good, there's also a lot of ways that they're still missing the mark. So what I want to know, what breaks my heart about this, is finding out that even when we have assistance programs, even though we do soup kitchens and food pantries, even though we work to do a rotating shelter, even though we're doing all of these things, and many churches are doing all of these things, you still find that people's lives are not being dramatically improved. You still find that a lot of folks who go to the soup kitchen are going to be at the soup kitchen every day or every time that they can for the rest of their lives. And not because that's what they want to do, although sometimes that may be true, but because it's what they have to do. Because there aren't other options. And when Jesus gets in front of the disciples and he says, you feed them. I don't think what he's saying is that what you do is you start a food pantry and you feed people that way. I think what Jesus is saying to them is that you solve the problem. Because what the disciples do here is not go and raid their pantries and bring out all the food that they have. They bring out what they've got. But they've only got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. What happens here is something much deeper than that. What happens here is a realization of the work that we can do as the people of God, which is to solve these deep, systemic problems. Even for a moment. And this feeding story is just for a moment. It's just a glimpse, but that's what the kingdom of God is about. The kingdom of God is about making sure that people do not go to bed hungry. It's about making sure that everybody is fed. And it's about making sure that we do it in a way that works in this world. I'm telling you all of this because I want you to know that I believe that these big problems are solvable. I want you to know that I believe that when Jesus gets in front of the disciples and says you feed them and they do, what's happening there is more than a miracle. It's more than a flash in the pan. It's more than something that just happened 2,000 years ago that we can't reproduce. What's happening there is Jesus teaching us about understanding our world and what's possible in a different way. To readjust our values so that when we look at other people, we don't see the homeless, or we don't see the hungry, or we don't see the sick, or we don't see the poor, but what we see are children of God and the solution built upon a network of community and belovedness. In this passage, the disciples are faced with an enormous problem. And it doesn't take enormous amounts of money to solve it. It doesn't take an enormous amount of resources to get the task done. But what it does require is a conversation. It requires community. It requires hope and belief. And what I pray for you this week as you go forth into the world is that you continue to pray about those things that break your heart. That you continue to look for folks that are hurting. That you continue to look for people who are in need of being fed. And rather than saying, God, I just don't have the money, or God, I only have 5 loaves and 2 fishes, you would say, God, how can we do this together? When we do that, what we're going to do is transform the world. And we're going to bring the kingdom of God with us every step of the way. And when we do that, God's blessing pours out in every corner of our lives.